Today I'm going to do a really quick video for you beginners out there. I'm going to show you how to shuffle a deck of cards like this. Okay, now this is called the Riffle Shuffle, or more specifically the In the Hands Riffle Shuffle, okay, as opposed to the Table Riffle Shuffle, which looks like this. Now this In the Hands Riffle Shuffle is really a move that you have to know how to do. If I had to choose one way to shuffle a deck of cards for the rest of my life, it would be this In the Hands Riffle Shuffle. The reason is because it does a really good job at shuffling the cards. It looks really cool, especially if you follow up with this bridge move right here. And it sounds good. It's just overall a really good shuffle, a very common shuffle too, especially out here in the West. I'm sure you have seen a deck of cards being shuffled this way. Normally I've seen it that when people first start to learn how to do this shuffle, they will actually use the table for support, and they'll shuffle the cards onto the table, then bring it up into the bridge. So I'm going to try to knock you out of that habit. It's really not necessary. You can do everything with the cards suspended in the air, and that's just better because you don't need a table. So it's really versatile in that sense, where you can do this shuffle standing up or sitting down. It really doesn't matter. Now, how do we do this? Okay, so you're going to start off by holding the deck in your left hand. That is, if you're right-handed, of course. You always hold the deck in the hand opposite of your strong hand. So hold the deck in your left hand, come over with your right hand, and you're going to grip the deck like this. Okay, so that's thumb at the back. My first finger is curled on top, and then my middle joint of these two fingers, my ring finger and my middle finger, are contacting the top edge of the deck right here. And then my pinky's kind of just hanging out the side, like so. Okay, so you're going to grip the deck like that, and then you're going to rotate your hand palm up so that the deck is now vertically positioned. Alright? Now the first thing you need to practice is doing that riffle. So to do this, what I do is I push my first finger in a bit, and I pull back with my thumb, and that causes the cards to bend. Just a little flex, right? And now what's happening is I'm releasing the cards from my thumb. So they're falling off my thumb and springing out. Okay, and because of the way that I'm gripping the deck, these cards won't fly out, they'll just stay right there. And so this is going to take some practice at first. You might have a very clumpy release of the cards, but eventually you should be able to release the cards one at a time from your thumb. You just need to develop that, I guess, sensitive touch in your fingers. So eventually you should be able to riffle the cards off like that. That's the first thing to practice. Once you're comfortable with this, what you're going to do is you're going to riffle off about half the cards, and then you're going to let them fall onto your left hand, and then you're going to flip them up, flip them up, flip them up, and then you're going to grab them, and you're going to hold the cards in exactly the same position that you're holding your right hand cards. Okay, so you're basically mirroring the position of the fingers of your right hand. Okay, so the cards on the bottom are still contacting that second joint, that middle joint, and your first finger is still on the back of that card. Now, one second, I'm getting a text. Okay, so you're going to flex both packs, and you're just going to practice this. Releasing the cards simultaneously and as smoothly as possible. Just start out slow first. You know, just try to release one card at a time. And then once you get comfortable with that, you're going to bring your hands closer together, and what's going to happen is that the cards are going to fall on top of each other. They're going to overlap, just like this. Okay, and that's the shuffling process. That's how the cards are being mixed. Now, again, I advise you to just start out really slow. Do this as slowly as possible. Then as you get quicker, you can shuffle more smoothly. When you first start out, you know, when you're not as good at riffling, what might happen is you'll create kind of a clumpy shuffle, So let me give you an example of what that might look like. Something like this, where you have these blocks of cards within the shuffle. That's not good. You want to practice it so that there's a good distribution of cards, so that the cards are very evenly spaced. Alright, now let's talk about the amount of overlap that you want when you shuffle. It's very little. What I mean by that is, I guess, the amount of card that's being interlaced. So between my two thumbs right now, that amount of space. So this would be a lot, and that would be too much. So the way I do it, when I shuffle, I normally have about that much of overlap. It's like half an inch maybe. But I would say a maximum of 1 inch. But that's the amount for me, between my two thumbs right there. But you can play around with that and see what works for you. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the more even your distribution of cards, the more singly you're able to release them off your thumb and interlace them, the easier the bridge part of the shuffle will be. Okay, so you want to make sure that you master that riffling shuffle first. Okay, before you move on to the bridge, you might want to just practice a different way of squaring up the cards. So once you shuffle, instead of doing the bridge, you can just push the cards together. Okay, and this is going to take a little bit of effort because there's quite a bit of friction between each of those cards. So in order for the cards to square up smoothly, you want to hold the cards very loose, and that way you'll be able to get a good amount of air in between those gaps in the cards, and there will be less friction, and you can push them together more easily. Now let's talk about the bridge. This is a really cool move. It looks great, right? It creates that really nice sound, and it's very functional. You know, it's efficient. It gets the job done. It's a very good way to square up the cards. Okay. To do it, do that first part where you riffle shuffle the cards together. Now here's what's going to happen. I end up grabbing both piles like this. So I have my first finger wrapped around this side edge right here. My thumbs are crucial. This is what is probably the most important finger position for this move. Your thumbs need to be located on the tip of the top card. So in this case, the top card happened to fall from my left side. So I'm just going to place both my thumbs right there on top of it, on this top edge of the card. And I'm going to be pushing down with those. From the back, I have my two fingers, my two middle fingers, not my two middle fingers, my middle finger and my ring finger from both of my hands on the bottom, and then I have my pinky out on back. Okay, so I'm really kind of gripping these cards quite well. And what's going to happen is I'm going to push up with the two fingers, my middle finger and my ring finger of each hand, and I'm pushing in. I'm kind of squeezing the cards in, creating this bridge shape. So it's going to end up looking like this. And don't worry about damaging your cards or bending your cards. At first, yeah, you might warp your cards a bit, but once you practice, it really doesn't take much pressure at all, and you're not going to be damaging your cards if you do it properly. Okay, so don't worry about that. Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, you might have to go through a few decks, but eventually, once you know how to do it, it's not going to have any negative impact on the condition of your cards at all. So, again, get into that bridge position. Let me give you an opposite example where a card from the right side falls last. In that case, it's just going to be the same thing. You're using your two thumbs to contact the front edge of the right hand card this time. It's always going to be pretty much dead center. And then bend in to create that bridge. And then what's going to happen is you're creating a lot of tension. And now you're just slowly going to release that tension by moving your hands slightly apart from each other. And eventually, the cards will just automatically start to fall or cascade in that manner. Squeeze in, bridge, and then release pressure until the cards start to fall. Okay, so that is the riffle shuffle, the in the hands riffle shuffle with the bridge square up. It's definitely a good one to learn, so practice that and take care, you guys. Bye.